Welcome to the podcast, everybody. This week we're going to be
recap Super 32 recap.
Man, was that it's always an amazing event.
Yeah,
when we go,
it's tiring,
very humbling.
The East Coast time sucks, man.
And for all you folks out there, we're going to be talking about high school primarily. We'll talk about do a little shout outs or some other kids that did really well. In the other divisions, but primarily focusing on the boys high school,
right?
And it was just epic. I mean, so you guys understand the way that the venue runs it. They did 2 1.5 for the periods,
right?
And then it was on the backside
was
130, 130, 130
the Saturday. So then Sunday, if you made it to day 2,
right?
Now, if you were, quarters, semis, it was 2-2-2. But if you were in the console rounds, fighting your way in, it went 1-2-2, which is crazy,
right?
Which I didn't understand the switching from one day to the next. Either way, it's a 5-minute match, right, so why switch it around?
I think they were just trying to get the neutral part out of the way. But and then the next thing, guys, so everybody understands, when you guys go out to this event and it's big, obviously recruiters are there.
Oh, dude, I've seen everybody. So many college coaches there, man.
I think it's awesome because if you're going to make this is truly for everybody who's been or not been, but this is truly a junior and senior kind of an event because they're showcasing at the highest levels. You get the best competition in the nation that's coming out there.
Oh yeah.
And you get guys that are looking to get recruited. Colleges are out there and seeing it, and then it happens very fast. Matches, there is no wait 45-minute nonsense. No. It's back to back to back.
No, like we had. I mean, just with Buchanan kids, we had a few that lost, in second, third round or whatever it was, and then immediately that Saturday, man. I mean, it was, hey, you just got done. Hey, you're getting assigned. You're getting assigned to another mat already. It was really fast.
So if you think it's expensive, it's not cheap to get out there.
Yeah,
it's a trip, and then that's exactly why I say the East Coast kids don't make that trip out west, right? Because the center of gravity for wrestling typically is on the East Coast.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look East Coast, Midwest, PA, Jersey, all that. I mean, most of the majority of the bigger high quality turn or they're all the ranking people look at is out that way, right? So,
Iowa, you got Fargo, you got all these things. So Super 32, grandfather of them all, this thing it's always lived up to the hype.
Oh yeah.
You got some of the best matches. I mean, it was some crazy how things turned out there. You'll see it. Some of the finals were just, we'll talk a little bit about those. And my thing is one of my favorite ones was the Joseph Antonio getting into the finals with Ladarian Lockett, which I think a lot of people did not expect.
So I didn't see it because we had left the airport already. But yeah.
Dude, that was and he had a different strategy. Ruben's always one of those guys that I think when they strategize for what they're doing, I was not expecting it. We'll get into it, but I wasn't expecting what he did.
Okay, perfect.
And I was like, why? But they have a rationale, and hey, you know what? They got another kid into the finals, so that's huge.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it, man.
Perfect.
There was some kids, from California. They had a decent showing. Let's talk about that really quick first.
Okay.
So numbers-wise, right, by far, orders of magnitude, PA brought more kids than anybody else.
Yeah, I think, and PA always does well there, but there is a higher percentage of PA kids there. I think when we looked at it, there was I think they had 170, 180 kids that went. Now, I mean, PA, I don't think there's any argument against that. PA is one of the best,
absolutely,
best states that had
that
for
produces wrestling. Yes,
their depth is what I think makes them good. It makes them the best is their depth. Because I think Jersey, Illinois, California. I think matchup wise, if you go the best top tier kids against top tier kids, I think it's close in certain weights. They're gonna have better kids at. Obviously, it's all relevant on whatever weight they're gonna have. But I think it's the depth that makes them
absolutely.
The best state.
And you can't throw a rock from any county in Pennsylvania and not hit a university or college that's a D1.
Well, we talked about that when we had Jacob on. I think that's one of the things that's lacking for California is that there's not very many D1 wrestling schools. You don't have
access to those kind of things.
There's no RTC an hour drive or 2 hour drive or whatever it is. And the lack of high quality D1 competitive wrestlers that are doing youth programs, club teams. Yeah. we saw David Taylor out there coaching the team, man.
The guy McKellar with the from Stellar.
Yeah, he had Marsteller.
That's crazy. He was mad side.
Yeah,
I mean,
so you have an Olympic chap and a world team member
coaching
high school youth kids that are coaching on teams, and these guys are current in the fire guys. And I think that's what makes PA so good is they have a high concentration of that. I mean, you go to your local team, local school, and you're going to have a D1 All-American and national champ as your coach.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
not Joe the plumber, whatever the case is.
Or dad taking his time out of the day that rest of high school, or
yes.
You know, which is no knock on nobody. That's just
but that's just the nature of what
I think that's what makes them. Yeah. That makes them that good at that high of a level.
I just and again, Fresno State, shame on you guys, right? I will tell you, when you have a location like the Central Valley where you have tons of programs that can feed into and have it, and you don't have that. I mean, thank you, Coach Moreno over at Community College at Fresno, or Fresno City College, right? They're at least doing that and they have access to that. But Fresno State, what a shame, because
when they were here, they had the RTC that they had. So you could get in on a Sunday night or Saturday evening or whatever, and get in there and roll with some of these college guys that are still. Even some of the assistant coaches, that are competing still at the national level too.
Absolutely,
so it made a big difference.
Like in the North, they have access to Stanford, right? The guys that do. There's not a lot of programs in the North, but I will guarantee you that kids from Gilroy, kids from Los Gatos, they're going down there,
and they have access. I mean, if you can utilize what you got, man, for sure.
It's a shame, but anyhow.
So we'll get into the placers and some of the other guys and all that.
So let's go down the road here a little bit. I mean, we really have to go all the way down from a we start talking about the placing and who did what. These are massive brackets, guys. We're talking some of them were like 256 man brackets.
So CJ went 120s and he had a round 256 match. So I mean, there was so many kids at some weights, man.
At the minimum, I don't think they might have been, even at the heaviers they may have had like a whatever. I think
they might have had
120s or whatever.
120 at least.
Right.
64.
Right.
At least. And that's at heavyweight.
Right. So think about that. And then, but from a placing perspective, I mean, we're looking at 120s before we get the first California placer.
Yeah.
So you want to get a little bit into that?
Yeah, we could get it. So you had Ronnie Ramirez, state champ last year at 113s.
Yep.
Get third. And he beat some good guys, dude. And Ronnie's good, man. Ronnie's always been good. Last year
he looked solid. Like he just fundamentally,
he looked really good.
He looked like he was, there on a purpose.
Well, last year he went out in blood round.
Yep.
His sophomore year went on blood round. Comes, season, wins a state title, comes back Super 32 and wrestled really good. I mean, Ronnie's always been good, but he wrestled really, really good, man.
Well, you even saw that matchup with, Antonio, right? Rodriguez.
So the other placer at 120s was, Antonio Rodriguez, who
from
was
Los Gatos.
Yes, from Los Gatos, who was state runner-up, lost to Ronnie in state finals last year. And he wrestled well too, man. I mean, I only saw a couple of his matches.
Did you see the Ronnie and him match?
I saw it briefly. I was kind of watching another match and kind of going back and forth. Ronnie kind of controlled the match. It was almost like the state match. Ronnie just kind of controlled it. But, I mean, Antonio placed 8th out there too. I mean,
that's huge.
Out of 200 plus wrestlers at that weight class. I mean, that was really good.
Good on Antonio and Ronnie. I mean, I did watch the match between him and he dominated. Ronnie just dominated that match.
Ronnie looked really good over the
weekend. And he just negated all of the things that Antonio does, and then he put him to his back. Right?
Yeah.
And so, and I think he stuck him, ended up sticking him.
I believe so. Yeah.
It was a pretty good match, but you see those things, and they got to that high, and Antonio shook it off, keeps going.
Yeah, came back and
takes an 8th.
Had a nice blood round match win, and then ended up falling in the next one. But hey, man, to take 8th, I mean, you placed at this tournament regardless. That's freaking,
it's huge,
really good, man.
You have put in the work, and I'll say this: Los Gatos had 3 placers.
Yeah,
that's huge for that program. So good on you guys, Greg Varela and the rest of those guys out there putting in that work.
They're doing work out there. That's good.
Yeah, that was.
They don't have the biggest of squads, but the guys that they do have are quality guys.
If you guys get a chance, you got to watch some of these matches on Flow. I mean, the video quality was some of the because they were like nobody was necessarily moved, and that's one thing I do have a complaint about.
I mean, it's typical flow, right? Certain matches,
Didn't
cameras
even
would
have
go out, some
right.
would go out,
But even
not
like
go
nobody
out.
was working them, so when the action is going out of bounds.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
So it was a little tricky, and there was no. The other thing I did, obviously, we learned very quickly is there was no challenges. You couldn't have a coach's challenge until the semifinals,
Right.
which is insane because there was some matches that it is what it is that were determined.
Well, I get they look at it as like there's too many damn kids here, man.
Right,
We can't
sure.
challenge every freaking. It's gonna take
No,
forever,
you'll be
dude.
there forever.
Right.
So, but some of those you got to get right, and it sucks because there was. I even saw one of our own kids in the team that had a bad call where it could have been two. Right, guy put his hands on the mat. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, I mean,
he got that to me is clearly that why you have, especially in the late rounds, two refs on the mat.
Right.
And they can't say, "Well, man, I was really looking." Whatever you say, I'm good with that. That's always unfortunate.
Right.
But anyways, because you talk about the application of what was the ruling and how did you apply that when it came to this?
Right.
Like some of those are not questionable. You have to show control, or you have to show, okay, dude, there is no reaction time. Did you put your hand on the mat or not?
Right.
That's two or three in that case. So that was 3-point takedowns out there, which was awesome.
Yeah, which is like, well, when we talked about out there, I mean, there was 28 mats I think they used.
It was insane.
I mean,
total chaos.
I mean, we were talking about percentage of wrestlers at the earlier rounds. I mean, that many matches and that many mats. I mean, the odds of you having 28 awesome referees is gonna
it dwindles, and
it's gonna be a little difficult.
Saw a couple other ones where it was sporty. People got very emotional, but it should be,
right.
And I always tell people, don't, if you're waiting to the ref will always disappoint you. Don't leave it up to the refs.
Right.
Don't do those kind of things. Go out there and do what you're supposed to do, and you won't have to have that.
Right.
But it happens. So yeah. But so the next person, so we're going down the road. So Antonio placed, Ronnie Ramirez placed,
right,
20s, was 38s, right? So we go all the way down. There was some really good matches in between, but you got all the way to 38s to get somebody that was a placer, and that's Paul Kelly.
Yeah, he looked good.
He looked really explosive.
I seen a handful of his matches, and I tell you what, man. I mean, he dropped a couple of close ones, but overall, he looked really, really good.
I was very impressed with Paul Kelly. Like, I mean, you think about this, like he was seated third.
Yeah. Well, he had done, he did well Fargo,
and that's all part of it.
They were out at Elite 8 duels, so he had those high quality matches leading up to it, and did well at those tournaments too, which led to the higher seed. And then we've talked about this before. Sometimes California kids get a disservice if they don't compete at those events, because when you've seen that, I mean, any of the weights, name any weight, it doesn't really matter. Most of the top 10, top 8 seeds were all kids that went to Fargo and did pretty well, or wrestled at Elite 8 duels, or did journeyman.
Well, they put it on the criteria, what they use for criteria for seeding. My issue with all of that is, and it showed, we had some major bracket busters where you had kids that were seated incredibly high, and somehow, I don't even know how that happened, and they went like 2-2. Yeah. They were seated pretty high, and that happens.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, there's got to be a balance. I'm not a big fan of using Fargo freestyle, or even Greco or something else.
It's a totally different,
right?
I mean, it's not a different sport, but it's a totally different thing.
Yeah. And you're talking about folk style versus that, and then you're adding the complexity of shortening the periods and doing all this other stuff.
Right. Well, then you just add in
service.
Top bottom. Some kids are nails on top bottom, on
right.
riding.
Matt riding. Yeah, Matt, yep.
Whereas in freestyle, we all know it's like you're getting taken down. Well, you're up in 10 seconds.
The ref's going to say, right. So. But good on Paul Kelly.
He looked really good. I mean, like I said, I watched a few of his matches, and this kid, he has a gas tank, dude. I mean, there were some times in going out of bounds, running back to the match, and this kid is just bouncing, getting ready, waiting for the other period to start. So I was really impressed with Paul Kelly. Well,
the ability to do what he was doing, and then he went out there. I mean, he had some good matches. He did have a kid forfeited for him to get into that his last match. So he had like a forfeit. I don't know if the kid it was a PA kid, which is the Seminox kick.
Oh, okay.
Actually had the forfeit. So
surprising.
Which is kind of weird, right? And then, but I think once he's like, hey, if I'm out on the front side, I don't know some of those guys,
right?
But they're from PH, or I don't know if you're catching a flight or whatever. But
they probably drove, I would imagine.
That's what I said. Yeah, so he had some tough matches. Like he had some decisions, like 2-0, 1-0 in one of his matches to get there.
That's how
That's
you
gritty.
pull stuff out, man. You win some close match. I mean, you're gonna have a close match out there. I mean, it's bound to happen.
Yeah, because he beats the Braun kid, Alex Braun from Minnesota.
Yeah, he's good.
4-1 to get into the third place match, right?
Yeah.
Or to win third. So
Right.
that's big. He had he looked good.
No,
I was impressed.
Yeah, I was
mean,
too. I hadn't, and honestly, I mean, up until this, I hadn't really seen him a whole lot wrestling like live. It was really impressive. I was really impressed with how he did.
Well, and they have a motor. I love that he's running a motor like he did. He wasn't waiting for somebody to, make it whatever. He wasn't reactive on his. He was looking for takedowns.
Yeah.
He was getting after it. He wasn't like a counter striker kind of guy. But
No, yeah, he was getting going.
And then from there, so it goes. I mean, we got to walk a little bit on the weight classes. You get all the way down to like 150s. The next weight,
right? Where he had Parco.
Parco placed, took a 7th.
Mm-hmm.
He had a good run.
Yeah, he looked good. I mean, the last time we seen him was at World Challenge Finals when he went against Miguel Estrada. He won that in overtime, injury default or whatever. I mean, I think he was kind of controlling the match anyway. But no, he looked good.
No Miguel out there.
No,
right?
There was a lot of kids that
didn't
were registered or listed and then ended up not going.
Yeah, for one thing or another,
whatever.
injury,
yeah,
it could have been anything.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, he took a 7th.
Right, so he won.
So he won that.
One.
Sorry, yeah, 7-4. But he had a hell of a run. I mean, he wrestled Vince Buzakis, right?
Mm-hmm.
That kid's a stud, man.
Yeah, and he got upset out there.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. That was probably one of his tougher matches, and
right.
I watched that one. That was kind of hard because Vince was just like on glue on him. He wasn't.
Yeah,
he was controlling. It was 14-3 on that.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's see. He had the Cody Rutledge kid too,
and he's always been pretty good.
Dude,
so.
Cody Rutledge got into the finals.
Yeah,
right.
He's good. He's
and
been
so
good.
You had, but he gave him a pretty good match. I was impressed. Parco, it was 5-3.
Yeah, so that's close.
So
yeah, it was close.
Parco's
good, man. He's quick. He's athletic.
He's a senior this year, right?
I believe so. He's going to Stanford.
Yeah,
right?
he's committed to Stanford.
Kid. Yeah.
Yep. So
Stanford's got to be stoked. I mean,
well, and one year that was it last year they had him like at 1 in the nation at some point.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think we talked about that before, but he did himself a good to go back out there and get at the national scene and place. He plays in a very difficult tournament.
I kind of anybody that I've talked to, I always compare Super 32 just from the quality and the depth of kids. I kind of compare it to the college NCAA tournament. I mean, you make day 2 blood round or whatever, especially if you place.
Oh,
I mean, I almost consider that as like you have really strong potential to be a D1 All-American once you get to college.
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
That's the way I compare it to how tough that tournament is.
People don't like, and then the level of technical things that are happening on the mat.
Oh yeah,
I love going and it's just if you can do it out there,
now,
you're going to be okay.
Now maybe not some of your earlier rounds, depending on where you get seated.
Right.
I mean, it's like any other huge tournament you go.
Right. They just get local kids. They come in and they.
If you're seated, anywhere fairly decently, you're gonna, your first 2-3 rounds might not be the best of competition, but once you get to round 32, round 16, quarters, you're gonna get a national. You're gonna get a nationally ranked kid. You're gonna get somebody really, really good.
Yeah, for sure. And so he's another Los Gatos kid.
Yeah.
And then at 57s, you get Dylan Pyle, who's another Los Gatos kid.
He took 8th.
He did really well. A matter of fact, I'm gonna say this because it was impressive. Dylan Pyle probably gave Darian Lockett the best match out there. It was, he gave him all he could handle. It was a difficult match. It was 2-0, dude.
Which is surprising because Darian Lockett's really, really good.
He's pretty good. I don't like some of his antics. I watch some stuff and I get it. He's a stud, but some of the nonsense he was doing, let me tell you, we'll talk about it. But
that's fine. I tell you what,
Joseph Antonio had him on the ropes, bro.
Really?
And that's a bunch of crap. And anybody who watched it, we can argue about it all you want. You watch that match and you watch Darian Lockett do this number and hold his leg and all of a sudden get water and get a tons of break. And I get it. That's
the
part of it was embarrassing, man. And people were kind of booing him and shit. It was wild. Like, come on, man. He had him on the ropes.
Really? Wow.
You'll see. It was just wild. It was wild.
That's right. One thing I'll tell you about Dylan Pyle that, not that it surprised me, it's just something to throw in there. That kid's hella flexible, man.
Oh no, yeah. If you don't know Dylan, yeah. We were partners out there in Los Gatos with him. The kid, you think you have him cradled up.
Oh, dude.
And his level, like in that match,
right?
His level of flexibility to be able, people are like, oh my god, his leg, and then he can.
Well, at one point, I think in one of the matches I seen it almost looked like his freaking legs were going behind his head, dude. He was doing full splits and shit and stuff.
Ever since he was a kid,
I was like, this kid's got to do yoga.
Absolutely. He was very
he's
flexible.
super hella flexible, man.
Very, very happy for him.
But
Because
good, no,
really
good on
well.
him, man. Yeah, he good on, and he's been doing well. I mean, he played state last year.
I was shocked to see him down at 57s, only from like, a lot of guys, they get down there, whatever. But that's good on him.
Well, if people are gonna cut, they're gonna cut for this tournament.
This is the one. This is the one you
guys.
do it for.
You see guys make a weight that they ain't gonna see the rest
Ever
of the
again.
season. You
Right.
know what I mean?
and potentially because he had gotten down to 60s, whatever it was, 63s for a world challenge. So he was there. He was close. 157s. Yeah. So it was good. It was good. He took an eighth.
So this weight had 3 placers from California.
Right,
Yeah.
representing. And imagine you add now maybe a Miguel, maybe somebody else who didn't go.
So
Laird Root.
So you had Dylan Pyle.
Yep.
And then you had Leo Contino from Buchanan take a 4th.
He took a 4th.
And then you had Joseph Antonio, who was in the finals. So like you said, come state time, this weight is going to be so 52, 57 is going to be an interesting weight for the season because, like you said, throw in Miguel, throw in Laird Root, throw in a couple other guys, the Priest kids, from Bakersfield or whoever. Right. Those 2 weight classes are going to be very competitive and see who goes, and you're going to see what kids go where.
It just depends if, like you said earlier, though, this is the one that you kind of cut for. I'd be surprised if some kids
go up to the next.
Maybe, but I'll tell you what, this is like the 85 pounds from last year for me for 157s for this year because of the amount of high level guys that are going to be there. I mean, if Miguel goes 157s. And you got a guy like Leo Contino who took a 4th. And you got Joseph Antonio.
Well, then you got to throw in, too. You got to throw in Parker, who placed at 150. There's, for the season, it's 52 or 50. I mean,
sure,
he could get in the mix, too,
I suspect that some of them will make that decision because they're seniors and they want to change something.
See who goes where. And then you see 20s was like that, too. 20s had a lot of kids. So so you had, so you had Ronnie, who was state champ last year, 13s, get 3rd. You had Joseph, you had Rodriguez get there. He took an 8th. You had CJ losing the blood round. You had Anthony Lucio in there. Then you throw in, then you start throwing in Adam Sierra, who was registered, not there.
Didn't go.
You throw in a Michael Romero from St. Bosco, who was registered, not there. Slater Hicks was there.
He was there.
Yeah. And then,
it's going to be interesting.
I mean, that weight, now granted, some might go up. Some,
right. They're going to have because some of those are from the same team, right? So they can only be
but
one.
You throw in Moses from Gilroy, maybe
it all changes. I mean, nobody from Gilroy went.
Those weights are going to be crazy this year.
Oh wait, did Gilroy have any kids go?
I don't believe so. No,
I think there was.
You see a lot of them you've seen a lot of them went to Fargo, so
and they got the right. Yeah, absolutely, and they killed it out there. So
yeah, they did really well.
But yeah, so let's talk Joseph Antonio real quick, right? Okay. Or you want to hit Leo first?
You could go. Let's go ahead and do Leo then.
Okay, so
he took the 4th.
Yeah, so Leo took a 4th, but Leo, personally, Leo has been putting in tons of work.
Yeah.
On his offense, standing, neutral, things that he's done, and he's always been a hammer on top.
Well, he's a very self-aware kid on what he needs to work on.
So he gets in there. He had some close matches, but he found ways to win.
Like, Leo always finds ways to win. He's a spider monkey. He just latches on you, man.
Oh, I love it because people, they get into his legs and they think, okay, I got him.
Well, we always say, and I tell him personally every time when I see him, like, dude, I would hate to wrestle you. You're the most frustrating guy to wrestle, dude.
Anybody who's experienced it, they're in deep. They think if you don't finish clean with Leo, he's gonna score. Yeah. He's gonna make it his score. The look on this poor kid's face, man, it was priceless. That kid was like, "What just happened? What just happened?"
But he has so much potential to be do well in college. Though he can ride, and then he doesn't get held down too often. I mean, he does get that every once in a while. If and he's getting better on his feet too, which he's been working on a lot. So if he could put that together, especially in college with those 3-point takedowns, and he's a hammer on top, I think he's going to have some success when he gets to the next level.
He's a junior, right? He took a 4th. That's huge. I think he went last. Did he go last year? He didn't place.
I don't think he placed last year.
But think about it, that's huge.
Oh yeah,
and in a very competitive weight class, a lot of California kids in there. Yeah. So it was really good that they came out and they did it.
Yeah, from like you said, he had a match with Lockett. So
7 to
right.
Was it 7-1?
But he's top of the food chain as of right now. So he got to feel what the best feels like.
Absolutely, it was 7-1. I mean, I watched that, and it's stylistically. Right, a lot of that is styles.
Well, it was close for the first couple of periods.
I don't even think anybody scored in the first period.
No, and then he did all right in the second. It was kind of close, and then then it just kind of got on the feet, and then Lockett kind of kept getting him going. And then 3-point takedowns made a huge difference too.
Huge difference. I'm a huge fan. I mean, if you
I was a fan too.
I think it's good because then you're wanting to get takedowns. So what you're not seeing is people just holding on to stuff. Because then if you're behind,
well, you never out of a match either, you know?
Yeah.
Which is great.
But so let's talk Joseph Antonio, man.
Okay.
Okay, so he was a 6 seed. He took out number 3, took out number 11, took out some kids to get there.
Yeah.
No, right? Took out the number 2 guy because he ended up having to wrestle the
he would wrestle 2 or 3. So.
And he gets into the finals.
Hey, good on him, man. I mean, but you always see Bosco kids do well at this tournament.
He put in the work. You could tell his wrestling.
He was prepared.
Oh yeah.
He was prepared.
So he goes into the finals with Lockett, and oh man, the strategy that was there. So Lockett in the first period they went back and forth, but he wrestles him from a knee, which I don't think it's something that.
So there was strategy.
There was some strategy going on. Sure. Yeah, there was definitely some stuff, and he was wrestling from a knee and trying to just close the gap, get connected, find his contact points, and start attacking.
Yeah.
But then I don't know that played out because then he was pushing. I would say he was driving Lockett to the edge a lot,
trying to get stall calls.
Yeah, and moving from there. Then I think nobody scored. I want to say, and all the way into. Let me go back here. But then nobody got there, and then you get into the. Shoot, it was deep in the rounds. It was one point, I think Lockett got out in the second period. And then in the third, he chose neutral.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a little weird because I thought, okay, man, you can get out and then you're at least tying it.
Right.
But I saw the look. They were talking, him and Ruben, and then he went neutral.
Ultimately, he went there.
And he goes back to the knee, starts chasing it deep.
Maybe he didn't want to waste time. Maybe he thought he'd get ridden for a little while. Maybe,
but it's 2-2-2, right? So I'm just saying, you got time to get out and go get a takedown if you really want to go there. But you secure. Hey, we're going at the bare minimum. I got my point. I don't know, different strategies,
right? And you never know what they were, thinking. So.
Who knows, right? But then they get to the point where we're in the. They're in deep in that period, and now he's got to chase him because he doesn't have.
Oh yeah.
Well, and then Lockett did this thing, and he's touching both of his legs, not sure which one hurts. Which you got to look at the video. It's not me making that up. It was just kind of ridiculous.
He didn't know which one hurt.
And then he goes straight for the Gatorade bottle, right? So I'm like, how hurt are you? Like if it's really you're walking to the mat, grabbing the Gatorade bottle, and getting the trainer. The trainer's trying to touch you and tell you, hey, what's wrong? Where does it hurt?
No, I'm good.
I think it's like my. Whatever. And
my lungs
right. And I just need a break. But I was a little, and it kind of sucked. But
right.
And then he got his wind, and I think he ended up on one of the bad shots from Antonio. Like he ended up scoring or whatever. I think it was 4-1 at the end. But
okay. I mean, either way though, hell of a tournament.
Yeah. He puts himself right back. Yeah.
He's a senior.
So he puts himself right back into the.
Oh, conversation. And he's going to Army West Point, I believe.
Is he committed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I just seen it.
That's good, man. Good on him.
Yeah, so he'll be going there because I think I seen that Mark Ayala's going.
Don't be surprised, guys, if that changes.
Think so?
Only from like, are you kidding me? People are going to be like, hey, dude, check this out. Yeah, you're going to go to the Army West Point, but we think we can offer you a whole lot more.
Well, it's only a commit, right? So it's not like he's signing anything yet. Yeah.
But that's pretty impressive. So good job.
No, he did.
Joseph Antonio.
He wrestled really well.
Second. Okay, then you got to jump down a little bit. I mean, in that weight class, so yeah, they did good. So let's see here.
So we had the 3 places there. So the next one was 65s.
Yep, all the way to 65. So
you had Branson John Buchanan.
Branson John, unseeded, takes out the number 3 seed.
Second match.
In the second match, catches that kid. It was a closer match. I think it's like 3-1 or whatever. Yeah. He scored a takedown at the end.
Right.
But that kid, I'm just saying, like, I was not.
He ended up not even placing.
That kid didn't even place. Like this is where I have issues with.
Now he is an Ohio State commit, so he just committed to that.
If I was Ohio State, I'd look at this and say, "Hey, bro, you either got to get your cardio right because that kid was done, and he didn't like."
But you know what? I mean, Branson does a really good job of pressuring forward.
Yep,
holding really good position.
He held great position,
and he'll hand fight with you pretty good. He doesn't just lean. Nope. He kind of get you catching. Like he did. Branson John, from I could say, made the biggest
huge jump
this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, and he's a senior. Good on him. He got focused.
He wasn't even in the lineup last year.
He wasn't even in the lineup. Was trying, and think about this. Now he has made some huge strides to go out there and play Super 32.
Yeah, he's coming off of a World Challenge win.
Yep,
winning the World Challenge. Comes here unseeded. And places 8th at Super 32.
Huge. I mean, he did really well. It was
Yeah.
some tough match. He ended up running into the guy, that Bambolini kid. He's badass, and
that kid's really good, dude.
he got into the finals, and actually, I think Bambolini lost.
He lost to a Nebraska kid, I want to say.
Yeah. So and because the kid didn't let him play all his little silly stuff that Bambolini likes to do. But
he's really good on his feet, that Bambolini kid.
Yeah, that was good, man. That was really good. So good job, Branson.
He did well. I was joking with his dad because I think he's going on a visit to some Montana school, NAIA school, which you know for a kid who was in the lineup last year, had some decent wins during the season, did pretty good at some dual stuff. That would be fitting, to go check out an NIA, which is good on him. But I was joking with his dad, I was like, "Hey, dude, you better start applying to some better colleges, dude, because there was a lot of coaches that even when I was just standing next to him, that they were already looking. He was getting Texas already. I mean,
part of that is, I think the kids, kids, you got to believe that you're one. I remember Nico Reese giving that interview, and he was talking about Super 32, and he said, "My coaches always told me I was one tournament away from really changing my whole outlook."
And it's true.
And it's very true. Yeah. And the consistency though, but the Nico goes back and does it again, goes into the finals of Fargo, and then he does it again in second year. He was on his way to win it another Super 32, and then he got hurt, right?
Right. He got hurt in the final, yeah. But I mean, for any kid that maybe is not on somebody's radar or not, you go out and you have a hell of a tournament. I mean, you could just leapfrog your way to a really good thing. Now, obviously, he needs to follow it up and have a good season, which all signs point to he's going to be someone to deal with when it comes to the season if he continues to wrestle the way he's been doing. But I was super happy for him. He did really, really good. He looked really good, man. The
consistency is key for everybody, anybody who's doing it and following that up. Because I think what he gets from this is that confidence that he belongs, that he can do this at that next level. I think that's good.
Yeah, well, especially you get some college coaches starting to call you, starting to get some texts from some pretty cool schools or good schools. It's got to be a motivating thing.
Oh, man, hell yeah! It's well, I can do this. I can really do this. So
hell yeah.
Good job. He did really well.
Right.
There was obviously other kids there too from California, but let's get down to. What's the next? Actually, the next one, California heavyweights.
Yeah, so you had
Nicholas.
Yeah, the Armenian monster from Bosco.
Sahakian, right?
Now, we had Nico on here with Gregor. We had some technical difficulties, so we're gonna try to get them back on and knock it out again. I actually talked to him over there.
Good.
And man, he's a monster, dude.
I don't think people understand how big he is.
Now I was texting with them and actually seeing them at dinner after weigh-ins. We all ended up at the same restaurant, and super nice kid, man. I really like that kid, man. He's super nice. He's a good kid. He is a monster.
Oh, yeah,
man.
dude. I didn't think
no.
At first, we had joked it early in the season. Oh, maybe he'll go 215.
There's no
hell he will.
He's got to be close to whatever the ending weight is. What is it, I think it's 285 or 288. Yeah. He's got to be goddamn near close to whatever.
This kid is doing backflips, right?
Now, did he do a backflip?
He didn't. I wanted him to do it. I didn't see it. I went.
Now, if people don't know or if you didn't watch it or whatever, technically, if you want to be really technical about this, heavyweight Super 32 final was an all California final.
Kids, yeah, because he had the Herrera kid.
He had Herrera who
Palm Desert.
Yeah, I think he was a 2-time state champ, right?
Yeah,
and then is now at Iowa Ames because he's going to wrestle and play football there. Yeah.
But think about that. This was 2-1. I think the score
in the it was 2-1.
It was a close match, but for my take on this is that for Nico to jump up into that weight class, and then
because he was at 195 last year.
Yeah, not only he skipped a couple, right? So he goes up and does really well, dominates. I saw him move on his feet.
He's
I'm
big,
looking forward to the Merrill and his match.
I mean, he's definitely gonna have the size advantage. Now, watching some of Nico's matches, when he chooses to go,
right,
he can go.
Yeah.
I do think the speed advantage is going to go to Merrill for sure. But I don't know how he's going to deal with that size though, because he's definitely a smaller heavyweight. Where Nico's it's a big heavyweight. Man.
You're going to have to move him, and even if you get there, can you finish?
And he fights well too.
Yeah, he did a really good job.
Yeah, I was super impressed.
He looked good.
Yeah,
man.
It was funny. I was texting him whenever it was done. Hey man, good job. You look great, dude. And I was like, dude, you're a freaking monster, bro. I didn't realize
he is. I was laughing because I saw him. I think we were in weigh-ins or something, and and I'm not nowhere near even. I'm not 5'9", I'm not 5'8". Quite.
No, yeah.
So just over 5'7" and some change. But I'm looking up at this guy, and Jonathan's a big, tall guy, but not like the frame that is Nico.
A big kid,
right?
Man. No,
he's imposing.
I'm a huge fan, man. I love that kid. He's awesome, dude.
And he got it done.
Yeah.
I'm glad he went out there and did what he came to do. Like he was committed to winning a Super 32 belt, and they did.
Yeah.
Right? So,
No, I'm super excited to see what he does in the season, and I definitely hope we get to see that Merrill match a couple of times.
Yeah, because I think it's you think we'll probably Doc B, right? I can only imagine.
Probably Doc B. I don't know if Gilroy will go out to either Battle of the Belt or 5 counties. I imagine they'll be at one or the other. I'm not sure if they'll both be at the same one. So we maybe there too. Doc B, you got to imagine they're all going to be there. So that'd probably be our best bet to see it the first time around. Well, yeah. I'm excited for that if that ends up happening.
The way that it goes down, right? So, I mean, I tell you, I'm gonna do a shout out to little Paulie Reese, right? He won the middle school division at 105s.
105s, yeah.
But I remember. Paulie took a first.
Paulie won. Good.
He got his little belt, man. That thing is like bigger than him.
Yeah, that's good job for Paulie. I was happy for him, man. That kid, I'm looking forward to him coming in the room next year.
He's going to be guys that
really
makes an impact.
I think he's going to be an instant starter. He's going to be an impact kid when he comes in. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to when he comes in.
For sure. So what do you think? I mean, like the conversation about whether or not, people are talking that conversation, and I don't mind having the conversation about whether or not what state produces better wrestling.
Well, like we touched on earlier, there's not really an argument for which team I think or which state consistently brings the best kids and has the most success at the college level, which is PA. I don't think there's a real argument for it. I mean, I think it just kind of is what it is. It is what it is. Yep. I mean, it speaks for itself. But yeah, so like we were talking earlier, so you seen a post from Jesse Smith, who we had on from Takedown Media, and he was just basically reissuing that statement. Is PA, kind of hands down is the best state, which I think there's no argument for it. I think we both agree that that's the case. But like we were discussing earlier, I think it's their depth that makes them good. Because I think top for top, one for one, whatever. I think it's I think Jersey, Illinois, some of the other states, can have an argument for certain weight classes that we have the best guys.
Sure, they dominate
like anything else.
Yeah.
But I think it's their depth and it's their coaching that they have that makes them the best.
Well, I think it's a combination of all that. Plus, they have access to so much more.
Yeah.
And let's just be fair. PA is a wrestling state.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
California treats it like it's a secondary thing.
Right. I mean, unless you're, a Poway kid area or,
right.
Bosco,
it's these little pockets
Gilroy,
of resistance. For sure.
Now Los Gatos kind of making a run for some good kids. Or you're in the Central Valley central section. It's really it, man, And then I think what makes the biggest difference too is that they off-season wise, or at least not in high school season time, all those best kids get together and they drill and they work together. They're on the same club team or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Where California doesn't really do that.
I think I tell people, I think we hurt ourselves by not doing duels. I think because of what happens is you get tons of high quality matches. Right. You in a tournament setting, you may get 2 or 3 matches that are halfway decent, depending who shows up. And when you have numbers of tournaments across, then it dilutes the pools. But whatever,
right?
It's more. I do believe that there's something to be said about having access to steel sharpens steel, right?
Yeah, 100%.
If you're not drilling with steel, then you're not getting better. Right. People say you can't be the best kid in the room, and you can't go out there and pretend, hey, there's only so much you can do if you don't have access to some stuff. I just think when you roll with college guys, and whether it's privates and you're paying or whatever the heck it is, but you get that secondary look and you feel that strength, everything changes.
Yeah,
now,
of course.
Good on PA. I take nothing from them. I think that you go back, you sharpen yourself, you regroup, you do whatever you're supposed to do, but you got to get after it. If you don't have, even look at Tommy, right? I'll use Tommy Tongson as an example, only from saying that look where he's at. He's in Exeter, right? Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine he has access to too much stuff in Exeter area. There isn't maybe if he's going down to Cal State Bakersfield, or obviously he goes to Dethrone sometimes, he goes to other places.
No, sometimes, yeah.
Right. So that's a hard thing. If you don't have that thing where you can travel to, and we're all crazy. We're willing to drive our kids wherever to go.
That's the thing too with the two, right? East Coast, just in general, the states and
They're
the
close.
stuff, they're close
Proximity.
together. Like I talk to, you just stand next to dudes, watching matches, and you just start kind of chopping it up or whatever. There was a bunch of them, hey man, where you from? We're from California, or whatever. Dude was from like PA or Jersey. They drove there, man.
Right.
So I mean, you can drive, an hour or two, and have awesome partners. I mean, you can go and do that, and you can be at a great club, right? Yeah. I mean, California kid just in general doesn't seem to do that. You kind of stick. It seems like they stick to their own more than anything else, which does the best kids a disservice, really.
I just think if you're not sharp, again, if you're not training with somebody who's going to make you better,
yeah.
If you're always winning those things and you're doing the things that you're doing, you're not going to get better. And not only that, if you get access to those kind of things, like when Fresno State had their program here. Mm-hmm. That's how we met Jacob, right, for us, mm-hmm. but not just him or DJ Lorem, any of these guys that were doing stuff.
Right.
You get access to that and you pick up things. So all of us are products of our kids are products of people who have helped them along the way, but it's multiple people that have added something new to their thing or tried something different. When you don't have that, you just don't have enough. There's not enough opportunity to do that.
Right. Well, I mean, and then, which is why I think no matter what tournaments you go to, it's mainly the higher quality schools that that shoot out the best kids that have all the success at the national tournament levels. I mean, you look at it like Fargo, how we were talking. I mean, Gilroy took all their hammers and they did really well.
They did Gilroy.
Poway goes all the time. They do really well. Poway took their team to elite duels. They all do fairly well. Buchanan in season, they don't do a whole lot. I think this was the first time they took like majority of their team to Super 32.
Sure.
Now they only had a couple placers, but they had a couple guys losing the blood round, a couple guys lose before that, but they're there. And I think the more they would do those kind of tournaments and maybe cross train with other stuff or extra coaches or whatever it is,
it can only
help, right? But I think seeing that and realizing, okay, we're there, we're great in season, we're 9-time team champs, whatever it is. But on an individual level, they're not quite there yet. As far as like the best of the best kids. I mean, granted, they're top tier kids. They got really great kids, but you see the difference.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of going where you can to get in the level of training. You bring people in or you do whatever, and then it is the diversifying. I just think that the Central Valley should not only focus on folk style, but do other things too. And I'm not just talking about Buchanan or anybody, but in general, there isn't a whole lot of freestyle out here. And there isn't a whole lot of, even if you wanted to do Greco or those kind of things. But
I think a lot of that is, that's the USA, California stuff, people's fault, dude. To be honest with you, I was talking to,
very political.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you see the kids that do it, right? It's Gilroy and Poway for the most part. You'll get some Bosco kids, they do it too. But, I was talking to a dad from Illinois, and he was saying it, like why does Illinois and like even Idaho does pretty well, and they're not known for being a wrestling state or whatever. Right. But why do they do so well? It's because their state gets all of their kids that are their Fargo kids, and they move them into the University of Illinois for like 6 weeks.
Right.
And those coaches, the Illinois college coaches, and the assistants and all the guys still competing, run a practice, they train with them, and they do all that for like 6 weeks before they go to Fargo. That's
a big deal.
That's a big difference from doing that and kind of just getting whoever can afford the trip to Fargo,
right.
And then doing a 2-day session at the Selland Arena to get ready for Fargo.
I have an issue with all of that, but it is kind of what it is, and it's the structure. It is very political, and that's why you see some of the kids don't go out. Because even worse, from my personal opinion, and you guys let us know what you think, but I see guys that go out and like they'll bid to get into the thing, and there's some criteria,
right? Of course.
But at the end of the day, when I watch it from here, because we want to take a shot at it next year, right? But watching it from home, like the coaches, seems like certain people have their own coaches in the corner, and that's it.
Well, of course.
And those other kids aren't getting.
But basically, though,
that's not good, man.
But that is because you're basically on your own. There's no head, coach or
just looking out for the whole thing.
Yeah, there's not like a committee or whatever that chooses their kids. Like there should be, hey, you place top 3,
yeah, automatic.
You're going to Fargo. We're gonna, they should pay for the kids' flights.
Yeah.
or at least they're
It's
whatever.
California, brother. They're not broke. I mean,
But I'm saying though, like you shouldn't
Good
shouldn't
Lord.
have to pay $700 for gear. You shouldn't have to pay. The kids shouldn't have to pay for all. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that that is detrimental to the team. Like it's almost like they don't want to put their best foot forward. Almost,
I agree with you.
That irritates me. That's one of my biggest, I think, complaints. But if they did that, I think you would see more success, and you at those national levels, you would see those kids getting ready and getting Super 32 belts and all that, because the best kids are training together over the summer, like PA does, like New Jersey does, like Illinois does.
Whether they like it or not, and they're getting after it, I think it's important once they decide that, and I do think there should be the criteria, which I think there
100%.
is, to how to get on the team. I think, people they have a choice to be part of it or not, and then there is this whole thing about whether or not who's going or who isn't going. But
100%.
But I do think that if you don't transition at some point, it's going to be hard, because if all you do is train a particular style, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
Well, it's more of just, continuing to wrestle high quality matches over the summer, prior to all the stuff. That's why you see in certain kids, the kids that, were placing, or the kids were top 3 or whatever, like you could tell those kids have been wrestling and doing high quality competition the whole time.
Oh, they're putting in the work.
Yeah. They're getting it done. They're in there working.
I mean, just for the record, right? So California, right, took a 4th as a
team-wide
state, if you will, on kids that came from California.
Right.
So it was
56 kids.
Yeah, which is pretty impressive in my opinion, because you think if you really had taken, say, the layer roots of the world,
well, you had
whoever that.
Well, you had no Poway kids outside of Paul Kelly.
Paul Kelly,
for the most part, right? Yeah. No Gilroy, who has a bunch of high quality kids. Yes. I mean, they have, nationally ranked kids all in there. I mean,
when people pick and choose what they want to do, right? But PA had, like, here's the points, right? 1,457 points with 180 kids, right? At high school level, and then you had New Jersey at 713 with however many kids they brought, and then Ohio, and then California with their 56 kids at 4th, 493. So we were 1 point away from tying for 3rd,
right?
So, and then right underneath them is Georgia. They, another 40 points back. So good on them. I think as hopefully more kids go out there and they have, because it is an amazing tournament.
No, I really liked it. I mean, now we talked about this a little earlier just to get refereeing. We talked about it.
Right.
Is there anything that you've seen blatantly just terrible?
I think it's unfortunate because I think like one of Branson's matches, I'll start there, is that Branson, you go back and look at the video, Branson was cheated out of a 2-point takedown.
It was a takedown.
The kid put his hand on the mat.
Right.
Branson is covering the hips, he's behind.
Right.
And the kid touched the mat and then came up. Now I don't know what happened. I was up a little bit higher in the stands.
Right.
But I think, man, that
like
should have been.
Takedown.
You got to argue those. There was 2 refs on there that looked like they were confirming, and I don't know how you call that anything but 2, and they didn't care.
Right.
They didn't seem to care at all.
Well, I mean, I don't know how many tournaments we've been to over the years, or even watching it on Flow or whatever. I don't recall really too many refs that ever changed their mind on any of the calls.
No, and even if they ask the other guy.
Right.
But my point is, you got to get the call right, because those things, especially there when you get into the later rounds, like they have big implications. Imagine if that was a blood round match, which I think that was not that one, because that was his second match into
right. Yeah.
And but that's difficult because there's a difference there, and if you don't get it right, or you're not even trying to get it right, like that's why you got 2 points. You can't tell me the only reason the other ref is on the mat is not to be looking up in the stands and looking for popcorn. Yeah, it's to be focused on the match.
To pay attention to see if you miss.
And if he tells him I didn't see it, then we got a problem.
What are you doing, bro?
Well, my bigger issue with reffing period is there is zero accountability. Like you say, there is no scorecard that says, okay, look, this guy clearly he's on the wrong side of the thing, isn't looking for a takedown, isn't looking for whatever. I mean, let's not have him in here anymore. But they need to fill it because they had 28 mats.
Yeah.
And so,
well, I think just in general, and just even from here, there's a referee shortage. I mean, there's
nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to get yelled at.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I do it for football, and it's like, nobody wants to do it and get screamed at the whole time, especially from maybe somebody who maybe don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to get that.
When they're talking about it, like most of the guys, when you get into the deeper rounds, they're not bringing, they're bringing guys that are wrestling, and hopefully the coaches are in there arguing the calls. I think there's something to be said about being able to have that discussion, and then the ref has to explain the application of the rule that he said he saw. If he can't do that, he tells you, just because I like, hey man, and then he gets it wrong, right? And one of the things, and it doesn't need to get into all this craziness.
No, yeah.
You asked the question, well, how in the hell did you apply? Well, red was on top,
right? When we're just talking generalities, yeah.
And I said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. The dude was on the bottom. What are you talking about? And he's like, oh, but there's then their only argument is, well, there isn't any, we can't go back.
There's no oversight,
right? And there's nothing. Yeah. So now you're screwed. But I agree with a lot of people that say you shouldn't have put yourself there. I agree.
100%.
Don't leave it up to the refs.
Right, 100%.
But when the refs do have to make a decision, what's wrong with them reviewing that to make sure it's right? Like if it's bad.
Yeah, and I think I would say the probably only time. Right. I mean, when you have, high school, middle school, 11U, 8U, girls.
Right, man. Yeah, it's a little crazy.
I mean, because there's probably hundreds of other people having the same conversation we were having. It's like, dude, this ref's terrible, man. They left this. They didn't do this.
But I mean, look, here's the deal. Say it's a very close thing, and you have to be able to discern, like, do I let this go? What is the impact? Do I make this call right? Because I think sometimes they do get stubborn. Like, I was right because I said I was right.
You have some ego involved, I'm sure.
That's not good because you're just screwing whatever kid. It may be on the recipient. Right. We could be on the good side or the bad side of that. But anyhow, besides that, like I think overall, like especially in the later rounds, like the blood rounds and above, they had to rest on the mat, and they were paying attention. Yeah, and they were there.
No, I think overall, just as a whole, I think it was fine. I think the refereeing was fine. Outside of maybe, like I said, people, I'm sure everybody has an opinion on it. I mean, outside of maybe, a handful of calls, I don't think anything was too egregious, for the most part.
I think the one that I saw that was big was that match with Branson that was kind of because I was watching.
And we rewatched his dad brought over the phone, and we rewatched it a handful of times. And I mean, it should have been a takedown, but.
Well, I mean, especially when it's blatant like that, what do you argue the call and then you try to have that discussion?
I mean, you could show the ref the phone, but he's like,
because at that point they said semifinal. Oh, I think it was semifinals and above. They could challenge.
Yeah, semifinals and above.
Right? I don't know. So some of those other ones were, I don't like that. If the kid, it doesn't matter if he's hurt or not. If he just calls injury time, but then they should apply the rule. Like, it's your choice. Like, I don't think they use college rules for that. Where, I mean, I'm just going to call, hey, it hurts, and that's it.
I need some water.
Right.
Kind of shit.
That drives me nuts, man. And they, of course, you're taking advantage of whatever you can.
Right.
But I don't know. I would get mad.
I'll tell you what, the one thing I have learned so far, though, with me doing like the football ref and stuff.
Yeah.
I will not be screaming from the stands very much anymore, dude.
Why?
Because I've been on the sidelines when I hear parents or people.
And you just ignore them.
Dude, you sound like an idiot, though, when you scream from the stand. I don't know how. I mean, and the coach, and granted, it's football, so it's a little different than, wrestling or whatever. But, man, when you hear somebody just scream from the stands and kind of doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, everybody on the sidelines or whatever looks at each other is like, man,
what is this guy talking about?
What is this idiot talking about?
Fair enough. But like even in wrestling, like when some of I think it's an emotional reaction, obviously.
Of course, it's more wrestling.
But when they know what they're talking about and it's a technical thing,
yes.
I have issues totally when they're not willing to even review it or talk about it because you're like, we're not asking you to, think about what we're asking you. How did this come there? Right. He was here. He was in this position. Right. I don't remember. It was like 10 seconds ago. You don't remember?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I would even, at least from a parent perspective, I would even accept. It's like, hey, you know what? You might be right. Maybe I missed it. I'll take that too. It's like, all right, I'll take that too.
Oh, hell no. No, if it's wrong, if you're wrong, they correct it.
What if it's after the fact?
After the fact, no, I'm not even talking to you.
Because but like we discussed, right? They never changed their mind.
I never have ever. I will say this, I will never go talk to a ref after the match is over because it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
But when it matters, it's in the match. Right. So you have the discussion. It's a bunch of crap and it's wrong, and you cannot take that out if you can't. You're not going to be able to argue your call.
Right.
But I have had some success where the ref will look at it and say, you know what, you're right on that application. I wish, like, this is good. That's what you want to hear, that you do it. Did you see this right? I love it. There was a guy that stopped the match one time. The kid had a bar going.
Right.
And the coach, this is my problem. The coaches on the other side are egging the ref on.
Well, you get baited in the call.
Sure. And then the ref's like, oh, shit. So he stops the match. The kid's about to get turned.
What do you do? Potential danger.
Yeah, he's a potential. And I said, hey, hold on, man, come on. So it was, you're helping Coach Jonathan was one of the dual teams. We're out in Tulsa or somewhere.
Right.
And I said, hey, did you see something? What did you see? And he says, he had to stop because he didn't. What he did was he heard.
He got talked into
right, and he's trying to make it. I said, well, man, that's a bunch of crap. And you can't stop the match because he says that. Did you not see it?
Well, it's almost like the light bulb went off. Right. Well, maybe he zoned out a little bit. I'm going to try to be on the ref side a little. We'll play it.
Oh, hell no. You got one job. One job. For the safety of the kids.
Right.
Our equipment over here.
We're good.
All right, so
we'll just do it this way for the remainder.
It's the clown.
Oh, shit.
Do you anything else you want to cover, man? Like that we kind of didn't hit?
Nah, I think we were good. We covered most of the Super 30 stuff. Just I'm excited for the season. Like I said, there were some weights out there that had quite a bit of California kids that I'm looking forward to see how those weights shake out, man. It's gonna be a fun season. I'm looking forward to it. We got what? I think 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Maybe a month and before
I can't wait.
Kind of the first tournament kind of gets going.
We're excited. We're hopefully so next week for you guys, we're probably going to have Daniel Zepeda. We're getting done, getting it all done. So we'll have him here in the very near future. We'll be able to get, we're looking to get probably the Gregor and Nick back on Nico, right?
Yeah, I'll reach out to
back
them
on
and kind of see what's going on. They're both pretty good kids, and they're both excited.
That's good, man.
So
it's good.
No, they're good kids. I kind of like talking to them.
So if you guys, hey, help us out here. If you guys really like the content, don't forget to subscribe. Take a look at this stuff. Put some comments if you guys disagree or agree with us. Let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah, man. Like our Facebook page and Instagram. Oh, and I got reminded by the wife.
Yeah,
we still have to do the drawing for the cup. We haven't done.
Oh, we haven't done that.
No, she reminded me.
Here's what we'll do. We should do.
I think you should have to leave a comment.
Yeah, sure. So
if anything, on Instagram or
let's do it.
Whatever.
Let's do it on one. We got to pick one. So we'll put it out. We'll do it when we do the Zepeda one. We'll just put it out, right? Like, but we'll say something like, and we can add this, yeah. But we'll say something like, if whoever has most likes for our posts or something, right?
Yeah, I don't even know how to look at those, but
well, we'll take a look at it. But we'll figure it out. We'll get it out to everybody, guys. I really appreciate you guys coming on, taking a look, and don't forget that you guys have some comments or some things that you guys want to see. Let us know. We're all open. We're trying to fill our calendar. When the season starts, we're just going to be recapping a lot of the good stuff and then talk about.
No, it'd be good. We'll have 3 weeks to a month for the first tournament kind of gets going. So, it'll be nice once the tournaments get going.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
We'll get it rolling.
Then everybody's gonna be waiting for the Cho, his list to come out.
Well, they'll probably be coming out in the next few weeks. I would imagine. I think they'll probably come
before
out
the season.
They'll probably come out right before. At least I know the probably before the shootout or whatever.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
That's like what, the first week of November or something.
I want to say it's like the
second.
It's like
really?
It's like the weekend before Thanksgiving.
Oh wow!
Say. So
we got time then.
Yeah, we got like a month. So
all right, guys. Thank you very much.
All right,
you guys. We're out.